Hello, everyone. Mobility Sunday is back again. We're going to do some hips and back today, things you might need, but if you don't have it, I will give you options for compensating for that. You may want to have some sort of TheraBandy yoga strap option. So I'm going to use like a medium stiffness, but if you have any type of TheraBand, nothing too light, but I assume that you guys probably have something on the heavier side or a yoga strap. A towel would work as well. And a yoga block or rolled up towel, stiff pillow, something you might want. Definitely will have some options for not using that, like just holding yourself up off the ground. If you don't have something like that, and the nice thing about this is you can always pause and get what you want down the road. Okay, so let's get started. In standing, now let's turn your toes out a bit so you can sink down into like a deep sumo squat. And in this position, try to relax your lower back, stack your ribs up over your pelvis. You're going to feel more weight and work through your inner thighs. And just sink down to whatever spot feels like a comfortable challenge, slight stretch, half work, half stretch. With your glutes, actively widen your knees as wide as possible. Just go ahead and find your core muscles a little bit. And then think of pushing your feet into the floor, squeezing up through your pelvic floor and stand all the way back up. And then sink right back down. Wide knees, ribs over pelvis, core is engaged a little bit. And then come right back up. One more time, sink low. Engage your core. And then come all the way back up. This time, sink low. We're going to stay there for a moment. Rotate one knee in to come to a lunge shape. In this position, keep sinking the back of your pelvis down to get more of a hip flexor stretch. I'm going to say first try to relax your back, lift with your core. And then once you have maxed that out, you can then use your glutes to help squeeze a little bit more. And hopefully you start to find some tension and stretch in the front of your hip. To get more of that, your back hip, rotate it forward. Then check back in with your lower back, lengthening down, your abs pulling up. And then sink down, lift up. Sink down, find more stretch. Lift up. One more time, sink down. Lift up and then open back to that wide squat. Sink down. Okay, so now I'm just going to relax into this position. Lean forward. Push one knee away and twist to look towards the opposite side. From here, your back knee, press it forward into your hand. Then using your glutes, try to open that knee wider away from your hand, but allow your hand to keep following. Then switch sides. So push your knee away, sink down, press your knee forward into your hand. So now you should feel your inner thigh working. And then using your glutes, open your knee away from your hand, but your hand's going to follow. You might be going like a millimeter. And just return to your stretch. All right, come back to the center, stand up tall. Okay, turn one foot forward, the other foot out. Arms out to a T. Now, watch my hip. I'm going to allow that hip to shift back as my ribs go the opposite direction. And then reach as far as you possibly can. You might feel a stretch back here. You may feel some length in your core. They come right back up by reaching with the opposite arm. Repeat, reach, push out that hip, come all the way back up. 3 more, reach. I'm thinking of my ribs and my hip going in opposite directions, trying to create length between those two structures. Come right back up. 2 more, reach. How far can you reach? If this knee is locking, you may want to soften it. Come back up. Those hypermobile folks out there with hyperextended knees, just bend it a little bit. Reach, reach, reach. And come all the way up. Switch sides. Other foot forward, foot out to the side. Be stacked up, ribs over pelvis. And then hip goes one way, ribs go the opposite. Reach as far as you possibly can and come back up. 4 more, reach. Hold. Can you go a little farther? Reach with your ribs ahead and your pelvis behind. Come right back up. 3 more, reach. Pause, breathe, stretch, come back up. 2 more, reach. Pause, breathe, stretch, come back up. 1 more time. Reach, 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 reach. And come all the way back up. Both feet forward. From here, turn 90 so you can see. You're going to keep your spine neutral. Sit your hips back, sort of like a deadlift. Come forward and then return. 2 more. So sit back, really lengthen your hamstrings. Come back up. 1 more time, reach. Only go to the depth that you can keep your back neutral-ish. You're on the side of being arched versus rounded. So definitely none of this. And then arms overhead. Reach, open to the T. Again, reach, return to a T. 1 more time, reach, and T. Now allow your spine to round, just drop down and reach towards your feet, towards the floor. If the floor feels really far away, try walking your feet out a little bit wider. Then from here, just drop your chest, relax over your feet. Take a couple breaths. So in this position, your legs should feel strong and supported while your chest and spine, shoulders are just dropping to the ground. Let gravity do all the work. Then stay low. Walk over to one foot. Pause and take a breath. Walk over to the other foot. Pause, take a breath. And then come back to the middle. Hands on the ground, look forward and lift your eyes so that you can see me again. And then drop back down, chest towards the floor. Do it a couple times. Eyes look up. Keep your shoulders relaxed. And then sink down again. Last one. Lift and lower. Staying low, walk over to one ankle again. We're going to spend a little more time. Just grab wherever you can grab your leg, just grab it and just gently pull your chest towards your ankle and foot. As you're pulling closer, is it possible to rotate your chest towards the side, or imagine even rotating upwards towards the ceiling? Once you find a nice stretch, just hang out there, feel what it feels like, tell those muscles to relax and stretch. And then walk over to the other side. Again, grab onto whatever you can grab. Pull yourself towards your leg. Next, try adding that rotation. Look with your whole torso towards the side and possibly even up towards the ceiling. One more good breath. Can you get a little more twist? And then come right back down to the center. Soften your knees, drop your pelvis, and make your way back up to standing. Okay, let's come down to the ground and do a like a figure 4 piriformis stretch. So once you're on your floor, cross one ankle over the other knee. And then with your hands, grab the around your thigh to pull your thigh into your chest. To begin with, just pull in as close as you can, which means your tailbone and sacrum are going to rock up off the floor. Hopefully you feel a bit of stretch in your glutes and or hamstring back in here. Then let's add a little tension to this position. Try to lower the back of your pelvis to the floor as if you could touch your tailbone to the ground, which is the very bottom of your pelvis, the bottom of your spine. So as you do that, your lower back may come off the floor, which is totally fine. And as you keep your arms pulling your legs towards your chest, that should increase the stretch in your hip. Additionally, you should feel your back muscles are engaged to press your tailbone down so that you feel more stable through your spine. And whenever your spine feels stable, you're going to get better stretches. Now, if it's possible, the leg that's on the bottom, can you drive that knee in towards your ankle to bring your legs closer to your body, all the while keeping your tailbone grounded on the floor? Okay, now keep the tailbone where it is, and with your top knee, take it across your body, maybe just 2 or 3 inches. Imagine you could bring that knee right over at the center of your chest, but it may not get all the way over your chest. Depends on how flexible your hip is and how long your legs are. Mine are short, stubby legs. It doesn't go very far. And as I pull my knee across my chest, I'm still keeping my pelvis grounded on the floor, not letting it pop up. So I'll get more twists, but I'll get less stretch if I let it come up off the ground. All right, come back to the middle. All right, staying on the same side, cross your top knee over the bottom knee. We're going to take the legs the same direction, and as you go, if it's possible to cross that top ankle behind the leg, so you're like doing a really twisted leg sit, then do so. This is definitely easier if you have long, thin legs. So open your arms to a T, and then rotate your legs to the side. As my legs rotate away, try to keep your shoulder on the floor. Just let the legs continue twisting, and maybe you can cross that ankle underneath your calf if that seems available to you at any point. All right, so this is called the twisted root stretch. Just hang out and breathe. And you may feel this more in your back now. It may still be in your hip or thigh, possibly even the chest and ribs. So wherever you feel a little bit of tension, send your breath there to tell it to relax. One more breath. Before we come back, can you sink your body a little bit deeper into the stretch? Which may mean trying to lengthen your pelvis away from the ribs, or it may mean letting your knees rotate closer to the floor. And then come on out of there. Whew. Okay, stretch both legs out nice and long. And do you feel any difference on the side that we just stretched? Does it feel more relaxed, more grounded, more connected to the floor? Maybe? Okay, side 2. Cross your ankle over your knee. Grab your thigh. Pull your legs into your chest. To start with, allow your pelvis to rock off the floor. Just hold that leg into your chest. Next, keep the legs close to your body. Press your tailbone towards the floor. Can you lengthen your tailbone towards the floor while still pulling your knees towards your chest? Take a moment and check out your neck and shoulders. Are your shoulders tensed up by your ears? If so, send them down and away from your ears. You should have more tension maybe in the back between the shoulder blades and not in your chest and neck. All right, let's keep progressing. So cross that top leg over your body as far as you can go while keeping your pelvis grounded on the floor. Hopefully getting more stretch in the top hip. In those glutes, maybe into the hamstring, piriformis, all those big, massive hip muscles that work really hard for you. Is your tailbone still on the ground? Come on back. Cross your top knee over the bottom knee. And then take both knees across your body into a twist. Again, that foot can hook behind your calf if it's possible. Opposite shoulder stays on or weighted towards the floor to give you the best possible twist in your body. You can look back towards that shoulder to help that shoulder stay heavy and grounded. Once you find a good stretch, just hang out and breathe. And again, you might feel it in the hips still, it might be lower back, it might be chest and shoulder. Wherever you feel the stretch sensation, send your breath there. Try to twist a little bit more. So shoulders grounded, knees rotate towards the floor. Can you go a smidge farther? Maybe your pelvis can lengthen away from your ribs a bit more. And then come on out of there. Oh. Okay. Next, bring both knees into your chest. Give them a good hug. And again, as you pull your knees in, resist the urge to lift the shoulders up. Keep them gliding down away from your ears. All right, in this position, I want you to focus on your entire spine curving into flexion. So tuck your chin to lengthen the back of your neck and to stretch the base of your skull, the suboccipital muscles. So your chin is sort of making a little bit of a double chin, but it's still very long. And then gaze down towards your chest. On your next exhale, use your abs to pull the ribs down like you're doing a sit-up, and then do sit up and curl yourself up as high as possible into a teeny little ball. Again, shoulders are down away from your ears. Keep gliding the tips of your shoulder blades towards the floor as your abs are pulling your chest up and the back of your neck stays long, your chin stays tucked. How compact can you make your body here? Can you keep curling up a little bit more? Can you pull your knees closer to your chest? And if so, can you now breathe? 2 more breaths. Get a little bit tighter and smaller. Be a tiny little egg, or I think you're like a Ninja Turtle doing a spin in the 90s. A little break dance move. And then come all the way back down. But lengthen your spine into the floor as you come back to the ground. Okay, rock up to sitting. Grab your TheraBand, strap, towel, something or another. If you just don't have anything handy, you're on a desert island perhaps, just grab here instead. We're gonna like do a back stretch. Okay, so put whatever you have around the balls of your feet. And I want you to start with a lot of tension, so choke up on it pretty good. Uh, if you have a light band, maybe fold it in half so that you have a lot of tension, which means you're going to be able to relax, sort of like you're going to be in a hammock, a nice day at the beach. So sit up nice and tall. Exhale. Try to pull in your lower abs. And then tip your pelvis backwards. The goal is to find as much rounding in your lower back as possible, which means your pelvis needs to tip back. Now, I have a lot of tension in my band, so I literally can't go too far unless I try to really overpower it, unnecessarily so. But find as much lower back rounding as possible and just pause and breathe. Try to send your breath into your lower back. As you do that, you can allow the rest of your spine to round as well. The shoulders can round somewhat, but don't let them have too much tension to the ears. They're still relaxed away from your neck. Just keep rounding and breathing, rounding and breathing. Those big back muscles that are like, nice to show off and bulging, let them relax and stretch here. As you relax, maybe your pelvis can tip farther back. So you're getting into a pretty deep hollow body type spine position. And come all the way back up. Whew. Okay, so if you felt like you were going about the same distance as I was, you want to go a little bit farther, maybe lighten up on your band strap, or if you have a rigid strap, like a yoga strap, just walk your hands farther away to give you more room to move. I'm going to try to go down so that your lower back gets to the floor, but your ribs and everything else is curved off the ground. So sit up tall, exhale, pull your lower abs in, tip your pelvis back, stretch your lower back as much as possible, which means you're going to have to really keep tucking your pelvis as you go. Almost like your tailbone is trying to come off the floor. And then notice the point where you feel like you're on the back of your pelvis. Pause there, and then try to get your lower back to the floor next. If you feel like your ribs are the next thing that touches the floor, then we definitely need to spend a little more time trying to get the lower back to get there first. Ooh, and then come right back up. All right, so I'm going to lighten up again. So I have even less. Actually, I think I'm going to undouble my band. So it's going to be less stretch, more abs, but maybe 50-50 now. So I need to use my abs to get more flexibility in my lower back. So my heels are digging into the floor. They're going to stay put. Sit up tall, tip your pelvis back, use those lower abs that are really pulling inwards. And then try to tuck your pelvis as much as your flexibility allows so that you can rock to the back of your pelvis. And then attempt to get your lower back onto the floor next. Shoulders are still down away from the ears. All right, did we do it? Let's try to come back up. Can you round through your spine? Oh, so hard. And then come right back up through a super rounded lower back. All right, adjust as needed to try to find a way to do that with your tension. Let's try that several times, going through just the hardest part to stretch. So sit up tall, exhale, pull those lower abs in, tip your pelvis back. Notice that my pelvis is sort of leading the way, not my chest. Pelvis tips back, roll to the back of your pelvis, to your lower back, and then try to keep your pelvis on the floor, lift your lower back, maybe rock forward towards your tailbone. Reverse, back of the pelvis, lower back, and then lift the lower back. So it's just the back of your pelvis on the floor, and then rock towards your tailbone. Not fully to the tailbone. All right, see that one more time. Rock back, back of pelvis, lower back touches the floor. Pause. Then roll back up. Lower back lifts. And then come all the way up. Okay, so I'm going to roll all the way down, all the way up. You can choose to still have a little bit of band assistance or just ditch the prop and use just your body weight. Depends on your mobility, your leg length to torso length ratio, how much flexibility you have in your body and strength all at the same time. So if I have just a little tension, I'm gonna keep my knees soft so my heels stay on the floor, and then roll down one bone at a time. So before we start with the lower back, can you now articulate through your ribs, finding the most length possible through every bone? At a certain point, your upper back is no longer going to make contact with the floor, but still imagine length through those bones. And then nod your chin down, curl up, and like you're rolling up a yoga mat or something that you want to roll up really tight, maybe like wrapping paper, roll up one bone at a time. Whew. So I still need my band to really get a good quality roll through some of the stiffer parts of my back, but feel free to ditch the band if you want, just to see what you can do without it. All right, so let's try it a couple more times. Tip your pelvis back, roll down, and then notice how well you can control your spine to the floor, one bone at a time. And then reverse, tuck your chin, roll up. Use those lower abs to help you lift. Ah, so hard. And then roll back down. This is about moving one joint at a time, getting the most articulation through your spine as possible. And then last one, tuck your chin, roll it up. Whew. So much work. All right, so hopefully you feel work in your abs and like you have a lot more length through your spine. We're gonna go down and stay down. So I'm gonna use my arms to counterbalance. Legs are heavy. Tip the pelvis, roll back down. And then just drop your arms and relax. Take a breath or two. How do you feel now compared to before? Do you feel more contact with the floor after doing the second round of stretches? All right, open your arms to a T with the palms down, shoulder blades heavy. And then pull your knees into your chest. And for starters, try to compress your legs towards your chest as much as you can. Sort of like a hanging knees to chest. You want to really pull those knees up with your abs. And then keeping your core engaged so that your lower back stays relatively smashed against the ground. Float your legs up to a tabletop or 90-90 position. So you should feel your core working, your shoulder blades plugged down, and your arms heavy. So let's do a controlled twist of your spine. So start by rotating your legs away, and then pay attention to how your body leaves the floor, how your torso leaves the floor, and see if you can imagine twisting through every bone in your lower back as your legs rotate away from you. Meanwhile, your ribs, upper ribs and shoulders are staying on the ground. You're definitely going to twist through your ribs as well. When you get to the end range, pause. Just notice how it feels. How far did you go? Breathe, as always. And then starting at the top of your spine, pull yourself towards the back to neutral. The legs are going to be somewhat reluctant to come up to make it easier to articulate one bone at a time. Okay, side two, shoulders down, core tight, twist the knees. As the knees twist away, be heavy through your core so that you can move only one bone at a time. And the opposite shoulder is super weighted on the floor. Once you're at your end range, like that shoulder wants to pop up, notice how it feels. Did you have as much success? Was this side easier or harder? And then come back. Let your legs be reluctantly heavy So they're going to pull against you as your spine and ribs start to return to the ground, one bone at a time. Whew. Pull those knees in, give them a hug. All right, grab the backs of your knees and let's start kind of rock up and rock down again. If you have a particularly bony back or maybe like a super bony tailbone and this hurts, just don't do it. But otherwise, if it feels okay, give it a couple rolls to like massage your back on the floor. Two more. Okay, hands can come behind you to like prop up. You can always come down here as well. That feels easier. Push the ground away, have a nice tall chest. Avoid like being super archy, just more of a long neutral spine. And walk your feet out to like a wide sumo squat position. From here, rotate your hips to the side. Now my chest, I'm going to try to keep it upright, not let it sway with the legs. Maybe even slightly twist to the opposite side. And then the inside leg here, lengthen it away. And if it's achievable, tap your knee to the floor. And once that knee's on the floor, can you continue twisting your ribs in opposition? What I'm hoping you'll feel is a bit of stretch across the front pocket area of your hip. So see if you can just pull your abs towards your head and lengthen your thigh farther away to find that stretch. If you feel a lot in your knee, it may help to really forcefully flex your ankles. Maybe even push your back heel against the floor to create more tension, and then just keep reaching. All right, other side. All right, open those knees and then twist the other way. So once my legs shift to the side, keep your spine long and counter rotate your ribs away. Lengthen your top knee or inside knee, whatever you want to call that, to think of finding length through your hip. And then see if you can get that knee towards the floor. Easier if you have long legs. And then hopefully you can find some sort of stretch in your front pocket region. If not, just keep working on like maybe tipping the pelvis farther back, twisting your ribs more, hollowing your core. Or maybe you're just not tight there if you don't feel it. And then if you're feeling a lot in your knee, flex your ankles and push your back heel into the floor to help protect that knee. Sometimes when our hips are really stiff, the knees tend to end up doing too much flexibility work, and that's not good either. So if you're feeling your knees, back off, and then come on back. Whew. Okay, so from here, if it's possible, come up to sitting upright. If it feels really pinchy in your hips, just back off and focus on trying to lengthen your waist away from your pelvis. But if you can, sit up straight, wide knees. Just rotate your legs to a 90-90. So in this position, put your hand on your back hip. So I'm bringing the heel of my hand as close to my pelvis as possible, but then push down on your hip. See how that feels. Be nice to yourself. So from here, once you push down, can you imagine lifting? This is more of a thought process more than something that you're physically going to get a lot of movement from. Can you imagine lifting your torso away from that hip? And as you do, can you twist more towards your front leg? Finish with your sternum, your chest, facing right over that front knee. And then with your back hip being really heavy and weighted with this hand, can you even sit your pelvis down more towards that side? If it feels a lot of pinching in the front of your hip or side of the hip, you might want to just lean away from it into your hand, however far you need to make it feel not terrible. But if you can, sit up tall, let that hip be heavy. All right, so back leg is heavy, torso is twisted towards the front leg. Lean away if you need to. If possible, no hands. maybe even no hands. Hands behind your head is nice because it can remind you to lengthen through your chest. Now continue twisting towards your front leg and imagine you could lift your front leg towards your chest, like we did with the glute stretch earlier on your back. And then as you lift that leg towards your chest, instead of it lifting up, allow it to pull your chest down towards the floor. If you need to use your hands or lean away, totally fine. And then press that front leg into the ground to lift your chest back up. Meanwhile, just remind this hip to be heavy. Let's do that 2 more times. Lift, in quotes, the front leg to pull your chest down. Press the leg away to come back up. 1 more time. Lift the front leg to pull your chest to the leg. And then come back up. I'm going to stay low this time. So go forward. If you want like max effort, you can use no hands. If you're human, you can use your hands. Maybe even lean away if it feels impossible. Try to lift that back leg up off the floor. And then lengthen the leg away by pushing through your heel and let it rebound back to the beginning. 2 more. Push away through your heel and come back. The more squared you are, the harder it's going to be. And then tap your knee on the floor. Keep your chest where it is. Can you lift your foot up and then put it back down? Lift it up, put it down. If you're feeling a lot of cramping, just try to adjust your position until it feels challenging but doable, productive. Okay, come on back up. Final challenge here. If your hip was happy in that other position, can you do the same thing in sitting? The more that your chest is over your pelvis, the harder it will be. If you need to lean away, feel free. 1 more time. Okay. Let's go to the other side. Whew. All right. So dropping my legs into a 90 degrees in both knees, roughly in the hips. And then use the heel of your hand to remind your hip to be heavy towards the floor. And that pressure will hopefully tell your muscles to sort of relax and stop spasming so much. If you have a lot of tension in the front of your hips, I know it can feel like it's really hard to relax that, but hopefully we can make some progress. Okay, so heavy hip, hands or no hands, your choice. Rotate your chest towards your front leg. How far can you go? And then ease off. Remind that back hip to be heavy and relaxed. And then return towards that front leg. Keep twisting your torso as much as possible. Let's hold it here. You can have hands, you can lean away, you can have your hands floating or behind your head. Lengthen your spine, lift your leg towards your chest and hinge forward. Press your leg into the floor, come right back up. And repeat. Lift, in air quotes, your front leg towards your chest, hinge forward. Press the ground away, come right back up. Just got 1 more. Forward. And lift. Okay, this time we're going to stay there. So hinge forward, hands on the floor. Lift that back leg up. Press it away, and then rebound it in. Press away, rebound in. 1 more time, press, rebound in. Knee to the ground. Can you lift your foot up and down? So this is hip internal rotation, so your hip joint is moving inside of your pelvis. The front of your hip should not be doing all the work. There's really some deep muscles deeper inside that I'd like you to be using instead. If this feels doable, come back up. Try it here. You can still be leaning away, but super hard would be to stay upright. Try to lift and lower, lift and lower. lift, and lower. One more time. Okay. All right, so you may want to grab your yoga block or a rolled up towel or pillow. This is my towel roll with tape around it. So I'm going to come to a plank and do like sort of a pigeon-y type move, mountain climber, pigeon hybrid. So plank, push the ground away, shoulders down. So I'm going to start with a bit more of a hollow body plank. So I'm really pushing the ground away. And with your hands, you're not literally going to do this with your hands, but imagine dialing outwards. You're going to put a little more emphasis on the outside of your hands. And what I really want is a dialing of your shoulder blades as you're also pushing. So it's a subtle, more of a muscular engagement type concept. So push the ground away, dial out so you have a little more weight on the outside of your hands. And the shoulder blades are going to do that same dialing out type of movement to make you really stable in your shoulder girdle. So push away and then bring one knee in towards your chest like a mountain climber. And then can you rotate that leg like you're going to do a pigeon? Then reverse that step to neutral, return. Other side, knee in, pivot your hip. How far can it go? And then come back to neutral, plank. All right, let's combine those two steps. So go directly towards your pigeon type position. Bring your leg as close to your chest as possible. And then return. Whew, instant sweat. All right, side two. Come towards your pigeon. And then return. One more set. Pigeon. Bring that thigh to your chest. And return. Last one. Pigeon. And return. Whew. Okay, so I'm going to take that into a pigeon. And I want you to try to find a position that feels challenging but doable. And this is when you might need your prop. So plank, knee in, rotate it towards your pigeon. The more parallel it is to your hands, the harder it will be. So if it's more neutral, it'll be easier. So find the angle that feels doable, place it on the floor. Let's start by just kind of trying to rock back. I'm using my back ankle and my hands to help me rock back. And notice how close you can get your butt towards the ground. And if it feels really far away, put your towel roll yoga block under there. And then wiggle that back foot as far away as possible until you can get the back knee towards the floor. Let's start by lifting your core, rolling the shoulder blades back, and walking yourself up to a pretty neutral squared up pigeon. So your top of your back knee should be on the floor. Your knee should not be pointing away from you, ideally. If you feel like this is just not necessary, you could hang out without it. Feel free to try that as well. Just sink down into your pigeon. All right, from here, lengthen your chest forward and relax. Okay, so I have my right leg in front of me. For a progression, take your opposite hand. So my left hand is going to thread the needle. And we use that thread the needle to give my torso a bit of a twist. And I can use my hand for leverage as well to help me twist. And then once I find a nice twist, just continue sinking over the leg and relaxing. Notice where you're feeling the most tension, the most stiffness, and just send your breath there. Good, one more breath. We're gonna do a little bit of a variation. If you're super happy here, feel free to stay for a little bit longer and just watch, and then you can join back in whenever you're ready. So I'm gonna come out of that twist, come up a little ways, find my core again so it's supporting my lower back. And the higher you go, the harder it is. So I can start low if I'd like. keep your back leg neutral, so knee towards the ground. If your kneecap hurts, then don't do it. Bend your knee if possible. How far can it bend? Then let it go back down. Let's try that a few times. Bend the knee and lower. Notice how that shifts your whole body. And if you really use your core, hopefully you can keep your torso, your pelvis pretty stable. If you feel it in your back a lot, try to hollow your core even more. Should not be aggravating your lower back. Okay, now if you feel like this is an okay position for you, bend that knee. I'm going to put my same hand as back foot sort of in front of my body for support, then reach with the opposite hand around to the back, grab my foot. If you're feeling close and want to work on it, you could get your strap back out, put that strap around your foot, and use that to pull it in. From here, got to keep that core strong so your back is feeling supported. Press your foot into your hand. And as you push your foot away, allow that to arch your back like a Superman. And then pull it back in. More of a quad stretch. One more time, push away, open your chest. And then pull it into your quad stretch. Core needs to be on to keep your back supported. Okay, we should come on out so we can do the other side. Okay, so side two, other leg comes in, rotate towards your pigeon, place your shin on the ground at whatever angle feels doable. Place your, grab your block so it's ready if you need it. Let's start by just kind of rocking back, using my back ankle to help me do that in my hands. And sit your hip towards the floor and or onto a towel roll or yoga block. How does it feel? How does side two feel? Is your back leg still neutral? So if you need to, lift your knee, rotate it towards the floor, rotate your chest towards your front leg more, and then reset your knee on the ground. If you don't need something under your hip, don't use it. If you do, you can keep it there as long as you like, and then just rock forward and relax. Okay, let's add that thread the needle. So opposite hand as front foot is going to thread under, reach away, and sink down. Now you may be pretty high, and that's still fine if you want to try threading the needle but be upright, or just work on being square. Totally fine too. It is all good as long as you feel a stretch. If you're ready to add on, let's work on coming out of the thread, be as low or as high as feels comfortable. Engage your core to keep your back stable and bend that knee and straighten it. Notice how bending the knee affects the ability of your body to stay still. It definitely rocks my hips off the floor a little bit more. And then the fun add-on. So I have my same hand as back foot in at my midline for support, then reach back, grab, or use your strap if you need to, and start by pulling in to feel a bit of a quad stretch, and then engage your core, push your foot away into a Superman type sensation in your torso. You're going to feel your spine extending, your chest opening. Notice if your leg is trying to unsquare a lot, just try to keep it somewhat neutral, meaning knee faces the ground, not out to the side. And then pull your heel back in. Two more. Push away. Open your chest. And then bring it back in. And one more time, push away. And bring it back in. All right, can you let go and keep it there? Bonus points. All right, wiggle on out of there. Whew. All right, how do you feel? Try lying on your back again. We've done this a few times now. Does it feel any better? Maybe you're still tired than it did earlier when we did this.